Hello, hello, hello. A few days ago, there was an NBA.com article that had Paolo as the fourth best player in the East and Cade Cunningham from Detroit as the fifth best player in the East. Of course, the Detroit fans were pissed. And then, of course, the age old story of my guy's the best and your guy sucks ensued online. So you probably can guess who I think is the better player, but then you know me, I like to check the numbers. So today's video is all things Paolo versus Cade. This is the Orlando Magic Nation, your source for all things Orlando Magic on YouTube. For Orlando Magic fans, by an Orlando Magic fan. Just want to thank you very much for clicking on this video and spending a little bit of time talking Magic with me. Click subscribe so that you can join the Orlando Magic Nation and not miss any of the content that I produce. And since you're clicking around, click on that like button because it really helps the channel grow by having more eyes on it. Again, this also doesn't have to be a one-way street. So go put down below in the comment section, who do you think is the better player, Paolo or Cade? This is an Orlando Magic video, so I'm guessing most people are going to say Paolo, but if you think it's Cade, then, good on you. So we're going to go over three criteria to look over this because it's one of these are the age old questions that are unanswerable, but we're going to try to answer them now. So we're going to go over the offense, the defense, and what they mean to the team. So if we start off with the stats here, so this is the career stats, last year's stats, and the playoff stats for Paolo and Cade. So Paolo has been in the league for 3 years. He's going into his fourth year upcoming. He scored 22.4 points, 7 rebounds, 4.6 assists, shooting 45 if you round up field goal percentage, 32% from three, 73% from the free throw, with a PER of 17.1 in his career. Last year, he was obviously an injury plagued season, or at least had one major injury, so he wasn't there for much of the season. In 46 games, he scored about 26 points. If you round up 8 rebounds, and if you round up 5 assists. So 26, 8, and 5 basically on 45% shooting, 32% from three, 73 ish percent from the free throw line with a PER of 20. If you look just at Cade's numbers for his career, he's been in the league 4 years. One of them he only played 12 games due to injury. But if we're looking at his entire career, he's in his fourth year going into his fifth year. He has 22.1 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 7.4 assists, shooting about 45% as well. From three, he's at 34% if you round up. His free throws are much better at 85% with a PER of 16.9. Last year was his breakout season, especially after the miserable season Detroit had the 2 seasons ago. Last year was a breakout season in many ways. So he played 70 games last year, scored 26.1 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, 9.1 assists. Shooting, he shot 47% from the field, and if you round up 36% from three, 85% from the free throw line with a PER of 20.6. So if you're looking specific or just at the numbers, the two guys are pretty comparable, actually. They are within 0.3%, 0.3 points per game, and even last year, Paolo didn't play the whole, much of the season. He only had 46 games, but even then, it was about zero point 0.2 points per game difference. Paolo has more rebounds as a taller player. That makes sense. And as a point guard for his team, Cade has more assists than Paolo. So really, if you look at it, it's we're really picking nits. Paolo, I would say, has the slight edge there when it comes to the offensive end. Now, Cade, of course, is handling the ball more than Paolo does, even though Paolo handles it a lot for this team. Paolo normally has Franz as well with him, however, where Cade really doesn't have a secondary guy. Obviously, Jaden Ivey is part of their team, and Jaden Ivey he was also injured last year, so they brought in Dennis Schroeder to kind of help out, and he was, I would say, their secondary ball handler, especially for the playoff run that they had, or at least their first round series against the Knicks. So I would, in the end, I would probably use the tiebreaker of the playoffs. So, in two playoff series for Paolo, he's played 12 games. He has 28 points per game. 28 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 4.1 assists. He's shooting 45% from the field, but his 3-point percentage is 42%. If you round up, 42%. His free throws still around 71, with an effective field goal rate of about 50%. Now, Cade's only been in one series. Paolo's been in two. Cade has been in one. So in that one series, Cade in 6 games, he scored 25 points a game, 8.3 rebounds, 8.7 assists, shooting 42% from the field and 18% from three. 83% from the free throw line with an effective field goal of about 45%. That right there is not great. Obviously, it's a small sample size. There's only a 6 game sample size. Paolo, I added an extra line there of Paolo's first playoffs because you might, if you're a Detroit fan, you might argue, wow, it's only one series, and that's and we shouldn't put everything on that. But he's 23 years old. It was his 23-year-old season, and that was his first playoffs, which is great. Paolo in his 21 year, when he was 21 years old, that season is in his first playoffs. He had 7 games. He scored 27 points a game, 8.6 assists. Excuse me, 8.6 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 46% from the field, 40% from three, 76% from the free throw line. So as a 21-year-old, or at least in that season for Paolo, 27 points, or a 23-year-old season for Cade, 25 points a game. And the 3-point shooting is what I would say is the thing that really hurt Cade's argument here. But I don't know. For me, it's by the slightest of margins, or pretty wide margin when you look at the playoffs. I would say Paolo is the better offensive player. Cade, of course, is a great offensive player, but Paolo, being a year younger and 1 year less of NBA experience, has already surpassed Cade really at this point. So who knows now what Paolo's going to have, even assist wise. Right now, he's only at 4.8 assists last year, which is, I believe, a career high. Now he's going to have shooters that hopefully they all can continue to shoot this year. So I would say his number is just going to jump to six, at least 6 assists a game, 6 or 7 assists a game. Who knows? We'll see how the offense runs and all of that. But just having the shooters, as you can see, Cade, his assist jumped to 9 assists a game just by having shooters around. So hopefully that's that. But Paolo has the edge on offense. Defensive stats are always a little. They're not the best a lot of the times. If you just go by the traditional numbers, they basically have about the same when it comes to those stats. They basically are both. Let's see, Paolo's at point 0.8 steals and like point 0.8 or point 0.6 blocks per game, I believe. Like that's the thing that Paolo's going to have to improve on, I would say, being a bit better at the rim. That's going to be the thing that he needs to improve on the most. Cade, the plus he has is the versatility. I think that's the thing that with Cade, his ability to guard multiple positions is going to be something that when you look at this specific thing between the two of them. So Paolo he's at, yeah, like I said, point 0.8 steals, point 0.6 blocks. Oh man, I can know all this stuff off the top of my head already. And Cade is at 1 steal a game and point 0.8 blocks per game. So just in the traditional numbers, it looks like Cade has a bit of the advantage there. If you go into deeper the advanced stats, a lot of the advanced stats also point to Cade, and a lot of that is mostly because of his versatility, him being able to guard. He has more blocks than Paolo. He has, and that probably is because of him playing smaller guards, and they think they have they have the edge. They move past him, and he's able to block them. So I would say Cade in the end is the one that has the defensive edge, or the edge in defense between the two of them. Now it's pretty close though, so it's not like the other arguments for Paolo versus other people is that the defense is so much better for the other people than it is for Paolo. This one is not really that big. Cade is a bigger guard, so he's able to again withstand, and he can play up to bigger guys. And Paolo, it's just him being a bigger guy. It's hard for the bigger guys to keep up with the ones or the twos. So in that respect, I'd say yeah, Cade has the edge in the defense. So now we look at the team and what they mean to the team. Now both guys are the number one options. So that right there is it's kind of a wash in that respect. Now, Cade is the one that has been the primary ball handler. Cade has been the one that's been the primary ball handler, so that makes sense. That he's the number one option. He's the what is it, the straw that stirs the drink. That's what he is. So him versus Paolo. Paolo is the sun basically for he is the everything for the Magic. So is Cade. Cade has Ivy. Paolo has Franz. I'd say in that respect, Paolo has the better teammate on here. If you look at some of the numbers that I have here, this is off of Cleaning the Glass, and the colors. For those that are watching this, don't you don't have to care so much about the colors. Anything in blue, and the darker blue means the worse it is percentile for their position type. So Paolo is a big because he plays power forward or center. And for Cade is he's classified a combo guard because he's a shooting guard as well as a point guard. So that's what those are. Those are the they're the percentile of that position. So that's why you're going to see some of the different colors that are on there. So if you look at the Magic, they had 110.2 points per game, or excuse me, points per 100 possessions on offense when Paolo was on the court. So when he was off the court, it was 110.5. When you look at Cade, their offense was clicking way better. Obviously, again, partially due to the shooting, as well as the secondary ball handlers that they had on their team. They had 116.7 points per 100 possessions on offense, and when he was out of the game, they were down to 112.3. So he ended up having more of an influence on the offense than Paolo did. That's interesting that the number is so big, especially with Jaden Ivey that was there. I know he missed about a half of the season, so that's likely what happens. It's because Jaden Ivey was out for most of the season that just the backup options at the time were like Asar Thompson initiating the offense, or Malik Beasley shooting, or I know Schroeder came in midway or during the trade deadline, so I'm assuming he was that person as well. But the team just didn't perform as well when he was on the bench, which makes sense. So in this respect, I'd say Cade has a little bit more of a talking point here when it comes to the team, or at least for the season long averages. Now, again, if you look at the rest of the numbers, the offense revolved around Cade. Their defense didn't really revolve necessarily around him so much, but their defense was pretty good, but not as good as the Magic's. And again, if we're looking at this season specifically, last season he was influential in their season, and Paulo was injured, and when he played at the beginning it took a while for him to get back into shape. So again, if you're looking at the numbers in 2024 to 2025, Cade probably had a bit of the more influential season. That's his breakout season, however, and for Paulo, it would have been a breakout season for him. That if he had that, if he was healthy for the season, and especially if Franz was healthy for the season, then they would have had a better record than Detroit. Detroit had what, a 3-game lead on them ultimately, and that was with Paulo missing so many games and Franz missing so many games. And not saying Detroit didn't have their own injuries as well, but it definitely wasn't the same for all of that. However, if you look at the playoffs, so for me, I'd rather have someone who is going to influence the game and influence the team all the way around, offensively and defensively in the playoffs. So for me, even if in the one season we're looking at here, Cade had a more influential or had an influence on his team that Paolo didn't, partially because Paolo always has Franz as well, and Franz played more games than Jaden Ivey did last year. So that difference didn't the team difference didn't fluctuate as much for the Magic as it did for the Pistons. But I'd say for the Magic, it's Paolo. Paolo is still more influential for the Magic than Cade is because Cade just didn't have the playoffs ultimately that the Magic also lost in the first round, and they actually didn't play as many games. And Detroit probably, if Cade would have played better, Detroit could have beaten New York, or at least made that a 7 game series like the Magic made it in their first for a 2 seasons ago. So I'd say in the end, Paolo ultimately influences his team more than Cade, even though again it's pretty close. So I understand Detroit being upset and saying, "Oh, like why is Cade below Paolo?" But as you can see, a lot of this stuff you're nitpicking. We're nitpicking when it comes to this to these fine discussions because the person above Paolo was Donovan Mitchell versus Jalen Brunson, who was the second best player. So like, we're really just picking nits really at that point. So the stats for me say Paolo. They still say Paolo, even though Cade the last year had a better year, just because Cade was healthier, his team was healthier. He did they did more. Let's say they had a better season than the Magic did, but the stats still go to Paolo, even if he didn't score as much as K did the year. It's over the course of their careers. Even though Paolo has 1 year or less, he has been more influential. He has scored more points. Not basically. He has a better scoring record. He has a better PER. He has a better win share. He has so many other positives ultimately. And then if you go into some of the advanced stats as well, they all point to Paolo being a better offensive player, Cade barely being a better defensive player, Paolo being barely a better offensive player as well, but Paolo just being more to the team because he has to be the sun, the moon, the stars, the sky. He has to be everything for the team, even though Franz is great. And when Paolo was out, Franz played great. Paolo was still that guy, let's say, for the Magic. Franz could be that guy as well, and hopefully he has a great season this upcoming. But in the discussion between Paolo and Cade, just ever so slightly, it goes to Paolo. Obviously, I might be a bit biased, so you guys can come at me if it's Detroit fans are watching this for whatever reason. You can come at me, put it in the comments. I understand that this stuff is like politics and religion. You guys have your passion and you feel it. This one at least is a closer one than the Paolo versus J Dub. To me, that's for sure Paolo because of who he is for the team versus what J Dub is to the Thunder. Cade is much closer to Paolo in what they mean to the team offensively and defensively. It's pretty close. So just by a little hair, I would say Paolo is a better player. So I think those rankings are correct. Paolo 4, Cade 5. What do you think? Put it down at the bottom. So don't forget, you gotta add a comment at the bottom. You gotta subscribe so that you don't miss out on any content and be part of the Orlando Magic Nation. And the other thing is hit that like button, like, because we need that like button so that the show can continue to grow and be in front of a bunch of other people. So I appreciate you again spending time with me talking magic, and I hope you're having a great day.